Wondering if we were going to have a different type of a crowd or a bigger crowd or a smaller crowd because
Hope it.
we're definitely off of our core um, constituency here. So
Yeah, right. Right.
a different type of crowd or a bigger crowd. Okay. All right. We're going out on YouTube now. And
Well, I hope it didn't scare him away.
Yeah.
well, it's going to be their loss.
Yep. I'm sure it will. Yeah, we're gonna Chuck and Dave, we're really gonna miss you this year. It's gonna be an interesting crowd. Um so far we have at this time, a week before the convention, we have about 15 more people registered than we did last year.
That's good.
And a lot of something like 30 people who've never attended before.
And a couple of old timers too.
And a couple of old timers that haven't been here for us. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, definitely gonna miss that.
Yep. Well, there's always next year.
We all have to be alive is the only catch. But
That is the
Don't laugh.
that is the issue nowadays, isn't it?
yes, that's one of the reasons I'm not going is because my younger cousin, my favorite one actually, had the audacity to die all of a sudden. I mean, he's I don't know 6 years younger than me. That scares the crap out of me. If you want
Yeah.
to,
That's gotta hurt.
yeah. Well, he thought he had a sinus infection, and the next thing he knew, he had brain cancer, and he was dead in 2 weeks.
Jeez. I've heard several stories like that recently.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Yeah, my flight. I was supposed to be here um, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and to get ready for the show. And I've had a persistent infection that's part of my peritoneal dialysis, and apparently they've been using the wrong antibiotic, and they have switched over 2 weeks ago to a new one, and the doctor didn't want me to leave town until he saw how it was working. And it is working well, but I think this will get it. But that gave me only a week to be here to prepare rather than 2 weeks. Fortunately, it's all coming together as it always does. Well, are we about ready to get started?
Give me a second here. Okay.
Okay, everybody be careful what they say. Welcome to the April meeting of the Early Television Museum community. I want to thank the New Jersey Antique Radio Club for sponsoring the meeting and providing our Zoom feed. I'll give a brief report on what's going on at the museum. As you can imagine, everything is craziness getting ready for the convention. The big thing I was worried about with me not coming was were we going to be able to get the new rubber floor put down in the warehouse? And I showed up this morning. Larry was there, proudly showing me that he and two of his friends had finished the floor. So that part's done. Everything else is going extremely well. Attendance, I think, is going to be very good. We I bought a 10 by 20 foot pop-up tent to put outside. Because we're going to have so many auction items, and so much of it is sort of junky. we're going to have the silent auction outside like we did last year, which I thought worked really well. So anyway, I bought the tent so that we could, if we have rain, we'll be okay. The weather so far looks good. Of course, they're looking a week in advance, but it's supposed to be 70 and 20% chance of rain. So if that holds up, one thing I'm a little worried about is that the forecast says on Friday that it's going to rain, and a week out, how accurate are they going to be? We don't know. Membership, we are now at 235, I think, way above where we were last year. We have a couple of really nice new additions to the collection. One you've probably seen them both. One is the Sylvania Slide Theater, which is about 5 feet long and has a carousel slide projector with a flying spot scanner in it, and it works. One of the things we're doing, getting ready for the museum for the convention, is moving stuff around so we can put it on display with it being so big. We also have a display cabinet coming for the two little mini sets, the Chromatron and the JVC monitor that we have on loan. The other new edition is the GEGM 295 1938 prototype, which is really an attractive set. We've got it on the floor now displayed. I've got the 3 prizes picked out for the sweepstakes, and I'll have it launched in time for the museum. Got the photos all together, and just a matter of going to the provider and getting it set up. So you'll be able to buy tickets starting at the convention. What else was I going to say about the auction? We have, I think, close to 100 items now. About half of them are entered online with pictures. And I had one more thing. I didn't write it down, so I can't remember it. But oh yeah. The new display. Our Predicta display has been here for about a year, and Thursday, Matthew and Blake are going to be here to put in the new display, which is vintage video games, and he has quite a display getting ready to be put in. So they're going to be working all day Friday on getting that installed. So things are going well. I am not going to have a featured item for the museum today. Just couldn't get around to it with my plane didn't get in until 2 in the morning. So sort of it was 4 hours late. So I just didn't have the energy to go back to the museum. So we'll have to forego that part of the meeting. Any questions about what I've just talked about the progress on the convention and what's going on at the museum?
Yeah, Steve,
Yeah.
you didn't say what the 3 items for the raffle are. Is that a secret
okay.
at this point, or?
No, it's not a secret.
Okay.
It's my memory.
Okay.
We have 3 prizes, and we have to pick one as the grand prize because that's the only way that the auction company can handle it. So the grand prize is a Dumont Royal Sovereign, complete with the back and a good CRT. It's really in mint. The chassis is in mint condition. Easy, very restorable. Second prize is our working CTC5 console, the one we've had on display for some time. But we got a nice one donated to us, which is really, really nicer looking. So we're going to put it on the floor. And we thought a working set would be a good prize for people who weren't technically inclined. The grand prize winner, the first number picked, will have his choice of the Dumont or the CTC5. The second place winner gets whatever he doesn't choose. The third prize is a is an RCA, excuse me, a FATA TV30, which is in really nice shape. It's a 630 clone. So those are the three prizes. Any more questions, comments?
Sounds like we all need to buy tickets.
Buy tickets, yes.
Steve, will this be a 2-item or 3-item in the future?
Don't have no idea. It
Okay,
just depends. We'll see how this goes. Trying it with three prizes. We'll see how it works and then we'll evaluate. I think the feeling was that this year having more than one prize made sense. And so we came up with three, two that are fairly special and one that is run of the mill, I guess, but would be interesting to some people, we thought.
Could I just ask who's handling the audiovisual stuff for the presentations? 'Cause I'm usually pretty fussy about wanting to use presenter mode on the PowerPoint and all that, and I wanted to talk to whoever it is.
Yeah, it's Matt Pateray is doing
Okay,
it.
I'll send you an email for a link to him.
Okay, yeah. He's done it. He did it one time before.
Okay.
And he knows what he's doing, so it should work out well. And Dave Arland has agreed to handle setup of the projector for the presentations, and operating the projector, the computers and the computer and projector for the presentations.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
would you mind if I mentioned the raffle that I would like to run at the convention for a newcomer or young people?
Yeah. I asked you to check on whether that had video inputs on it.
Yeah, I replied and it does.
It does. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and talk. Why don't you go ahead and say something about it?
Okay, let me see if I can share a screen here. Votist Einer. Hang on one sec while I figure this out right quick. Since 25 years of age seems to be the determining factor as to what is an antique. Let me try to get this back in. Anyways, this is a circa 1998 Zenith A20D. It is restorable in the sense that it needs cosmetics and it needs a remote, but otherwise it was working the last time it was used. It was at my church here in West Virginia. And what I would like to do is have an auction not an auction, but a raffle, I'm sorry, a raffle to encourage a young person or a new collector in the hobby. And that is, there would only be 100 tickets for this set. Tickets would be $5.25 each, and it would be limited to 100 tickets. So basically, they would get their start at collecting an analog set, restoring an analog set. It does need an F connector for a RF input, but that's the only restoration that looks like it's needed. So that will be also at the convention. I will print up the tickets myself, and a random number generator on this thing will determine the winner. Any questions or comments, folks?
One thing that I'm wondering, are you saying you're going to wander around selling the tickets, or how is that going to work?
Something along that line, Mike. Basically, the whatever is collected will be a separate donation to the museum, and will with the drawing to be done after the end of the presentations on Saturday.
So if you sell 50, do you still auction it off or?
It'll still be raffled off
Okay.
with 55, 10, whatever.
Okay.
The higher the better. It'll be, like I said, $5.25 each per ticket. However, if you want 10 of them, $50. But I prefer to go to a young person. By young, I mean hopefully under 30, and hopefully a first time attendee at the convention. There are too many of us old timers there, and we need to encourage, I hate to use the term, young blood in this hobby. Anyone else there for it?
Out of curiosity, what's the 25 cents for, John?
Say again, please.
What's the 25 cents for? $5.25? You go
Five-
nuts carrying quarters around,
525 lines.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I get it. Just curious. It just seemed odd. But, it's carrying a bunch of change around isn't a whole lot of fun. So that's just,
Well, that's to also encourage people to buy more tickets.
well, maybe that will work. I hope it does.
I'd look at it this way: whatever new money comes into the museum is good money, unless I'm mistaken, Steve.
I think you're absolutely right. Right. Interesting to see how this works.
Say again?
It will be interesting to see how well this works.
Yes. And basically, the set was a donation to me because, hey, it's a TV set. Our ham radio guy will know what to do with it. So basically, it is courtesy of the electronics closet at Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church in Arden, West Virginia. And that's all I have on that. And I will have something for the future of our hobby when we do the general discussion. So back to you, Steve.
Okay, well, thank you. Any
Steve,
other?
I have a question if you have
Yeah.
quickly. Usually you mention how many members haven't renewed and you didn't say anything this time. Because I did my best in the newsletter to threaten people. And I just wanted to see if it's had any positive result. Muted, Steve.
Sorry, I was muted. We're down to 35 who haven't renewed.
I'm after him.
Good. All right. Any other comments, or should we move on to our presentation?
Any new any new attendees? Did we ask if there's anybody new on the meeting tonight?
Oh, we didn't do that. Sorry. Is there anybody new that'd like to introduce themselves?
I'm fairly new.
Go right ahead.
Well, my name is Caden Leonard, and I'm over out west in Indiana, and I try to keep up with as much as I can. And if you can't already tell, I'm fairly younger, but I'll be 16 in December. But I do the hobby. I do it just about as best as I can with the equipment I've got. But I've accumulated quite the collection, really. I've tallied up 3 RCA New Vista Roundy sets, one currently working because it's not the other 2 with broken picture tubes. But I try to keep up, really.
Well, thank you. Glad you're here. Hope you enjoy the meeting. You're in Indiana. You ought to come over to the convention.
I'm going to be attending the convention the first day Friday, and I'm going to try to see if I can't get over there on Saturday for the swap meet. But I can confirm I will be showing up on Friday.
Great. Well, if you haven't registered already, you'll simplify your check-in if you could do that online before you come.
I did register.
Oh, you did.
already.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We
I
will
wanted
see you.
to throw in that I've put a lot of things in my presentation for newcomers too, including some tips on collecting and a lot of things like that. So try to stay for the presentations.
Yeah, is any of this going to be streamed incidentally?
Yes, going to be streamed. It's not going to be Zoom though.
Okay. We'll have to find out. I assume you'll have a link somewhere or other.
There'll be a link on our homepage.
Okay.
Now, I sent you a box of tapes, Steve, and Matt, I guess will be recording on tape, which is very, very anachronistic, but there he goes.
I think that term is old school, but it worked.
Right.
Now, an update for you, Steve. My JVC LCD set is in the hands of UPS, should get there Wednesday.
Excellent.
I think you're muted.
No, for the Chromatron, Matt's Chromatron display in my JVC, I'm assembling a little Mica display of old era color TV shows, Howdy Doody, Hullabaloo. And I'm hoping we can play, work that in somehow.
We should be just get it to us on a memory stick, and we should be able to do that without any trouble.
You're muted again, Steve.
Are you ready, Chuck?
I suppose so. If I'll unmute myself, and then we get to go figure out what I can do here to go to share a screen. But most of you know me from the Texas Broadcast Museum, and also I'm a board member of ETF, which I highly support. But Dave asked me to talk about radio, and I know this is a TV group, but there is a couple of TVs in what I'm going to show you. So we can cover TV too a little bit. But I seem to be the owner of actually 3 radio stations, 2 formats, one that we call QXFM and one we call KDOK. And I'm in Texas, for those of you who don't know that. It's its own unusual place, but I'm going to click on the share screen thing and we can see if I can bumble around to actually making this work. And we want to do that one. And like I say, the stations are called KDOK or KDOK, is what we call it. It's actually broadcast on 2 different radio stations, one in Tyler and one in in Kilgore, Texas, which is where the Broadcast Museum is. And then QXFM, KDOK's format is classic hits, basically. So you're going to hear a lot of Steely Dan, Rolling Stones, Doobie Brothers, stuff like that. Dave seems to like it. That's why I guess he asked me to do this. And the other one, QXFM, is kind of a soft rock kind of station, but it changes formats throughout the day. At night, it's almost a standard station with, you'll hear Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Tony Bennett, things like that. At drive time, it's a little more rock and roll. It's been an interesting journey. And I guess all this started really because I'm trying to get this thing to advance. That is not, I think I have fallen into the pit here of.
Yeah, you got to go back to the PowerPoint screen to.
Yeah, it doesn't want to get rid
control.
of this screen is the problem.
Just I would click the Alt Tab and get there.
See if Alt Tab works. Well, okay. Maybe we got the slideshow here. We'll go from beginning. All right. Now we can do something. I've been doing this for a long time. This is me at about age 13 or 14. And you'll notice that I'm talking to a microphone, which I bought from Lafayette Radio for, I think, $11.95. This, I think, was my first pirate radio station. Dave and I were talking earlier about pirate radio. This kind of started because, well, it's been a lifelong thing, but it kind of started because the principal of my elementary school gave me the PA system when I got into junior high school that my elementary school had. And it had a Thorderson amplifier. Remember Thorderson? They made transformers and flyback transformers, stuff like that. They actually made a power amplifier. I wish I had it still. But I got two microphones that you'll see behind me, some Shure, the 55, the Elvis mic. I still have the mics. They're actually in the museum these days. But I started out doing this a long time ago, and it's just kind of been a lifelong thing. And I've always loved radio. In college, I actually worked in radio, but somehow Space Aliens took me off, and I got into the world of rock and roll sound. I did sound for concerts and conventions and industrial shows and all kinds of things. I owned this company called Crossroads Audio. I originally worked for Showco in Dallas, which was one of the early sound companies. It became the world's second largest sound and lighting company. They invented all kinds of stuff. It was fascinating back in the early 70s. And one of our clients, Rare Earth. Do you remember Rare Earth? Anybody? I just want to celebrate another day of living. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, they talked to me one day and said, "You wouldn't want to go in the sound business, would you?" And I went, "Well, I don't have any money." They said, "We do." So they were actually our original client and backer. I owned this company for 31 years. Finally sold it to some ex-Showco people because Showco got bought out by the world's largest sound and lighting company, Clair Brothers, now called Clair International, and some guys from that didn't take the golden. They took the golden parachute rather than moving to Pennsylvania. They came in one day and said, "We'd like to buy your sound company." And I said, "Do you have any money?" And they said, "Why, yes, we do." And I said, "Well, we must talk because I have no exit plan." And and this is getting kind of old, and I'm not really into rap music, which was what we're having to do a lot of. I really love doing industrial shows, especially with a big band or something like that. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, Dave. So anyway, this is what I did for a living. I sat there, and apparently I was fairly good at it. That's our Midas console. That's me, a lot younger and a lot darker hair, uh, and a little bit lighter too. But I was apparently pretty good at it. Some of our clients were Arlo Guthrie, Cat Stevens, Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, Charlie Pride, Gatlin Brothers, Santana, whole bunch of people. And then we got into corporate stuff when the Republican National Convention was in Dallas in the early 80s, and we started doing ancillary things. We didn't do the convention sound, but we did sound for lots of other stuff. And all of a sudden I realized that I could actually sleep at home rather than a Holiday Inn somewhere, not have to drive a truck, and the place was air conditioned, and usually the food was pretty good. So we started doing a lot of corporate work. But they still do rock and roll shows even today. This is one of the shows we did in Austin, Texas, a place called Zilker Park. I don't know, 100,000 of my best friends showed up. This was Fleetwood Mac, I believe. But anyway, it was hotter than hell that day, but it was also real loud, and that's what we did for a living. But one day, these guys came in and wanted to buy my business, and I said, "Well, do you have money?" And they said, "Yeah." And so I decided I was going to become a rural farmer. I had a little bit of land out in East Texas where I live right now, and this is the view from my backyard. Uh, being a gentleman farmer did not really work out for me that well. I got bored. Uh, it was okay for about 2 years. My wife and I went on several nice trips, and uh, I worked on the farm and drove a tractor around and stuff like that. But it really didn't do it for me. And somewhere along the line, the FCC decided that we could start what's called a low power FM station. These are limited to 100 watts at 100 feet. Now, I don't know if you can see I live right here where the cursor is. And this lake that's around here is called Lake Cherokee, and it is Texas' largest private lake. and it's a retirement community basically. And I live right here, and I thought, gee, if I put a low power FM station right here, I'd cover the lake just really nicely, and a whole bunch of other
Good
areas
cat.
too. So I ended up,
What a good cat. Yes.
sorry, anyway, I thought this would be kind of fun, and I could play my Frank Sinatra records or whatever, and everybody'd be happy. And it worked out. It actually became really, really popular, which was a little scary because I really hadn't planned on it. Now, this was done on a shoestring. I mean, this was not a high budget operation. It still isn't. Uh, but we put up a tower, and that's the antenna. Uh, some poor guy climbing up this tower. The tower's still there, antenna's not, but actually he's doing something different right now. But we ended up getting the station on the air, and it became pretty popular. And this is as simple as it was. This was the station. I mean, it was really not a whole lot to it. The computer was running a program called Raduga, which actually has a TV connection. Raduga is a Russian brand of TV that was noted for blowing up. And whoever wrote the software, some guy in Germany that wrote the software, called his automation system Raduga because he was afraid it would blow up. But there wasn't a whole lot to this. It was totally automated. We did have a production studio. In fact, we still do. Same one. There's me a lot younger, recording something or other, a commercial or something. Actually, I probably wasn't because I noticed all the faders are down on this mixer. So whoever took the picture just apparently asked me to sit in there and look like I knew what I was doing. Uh, but this thing, like I say, became pretty popular. And one day I got the chance to uh, move from being a low power FM station to a full power station. Now, the way the museum started, when you first come in the building, now this TV camera here, the RCA TK11 is not there anymore. It's at the Texas Broadcast Museum, but a lot of the rest of the stuff is. And I had some Cub Scouts come in. This is what the place looks like when you first come in the front door. It still looks a lot like it. Notice there's a Motorola TV and an Arvin TV. And so we got some TVs here. Anyway, these Cub Scouts came in, and I thought I'd show them this before I showed them the computer, the Dell computer that's running everything. Because I mean, how interesting is that? Now we had cookies and brownies and stuff for them too, so they were, they were going to be okay. So I started cranking up that phonograph. These are the kids right here. These kids changed my life. See the little red-haired kid right here? Well, he was kind of the run of the litter, and I cranked up that phonograph, and he goes, "Why are you cranking that thing?" I said, "What is it?" I said, "Well, this was built in 1905, and in 1905, most people didn't have electricity." He goes, "No, of course everybody's got electricity. I mean, we got electricity. Oh, everybody's got electricity." I went, "No, not really." I said, "1905, most people didn't have a car. Uh, Hardly anybody had a phone." He goes, "Now wait a minute. You're putting me on. If they didn't have phones, how the hell did they get on the internet?" Actually, didn't say hell, but anyway, he said, "How did they get on the internet?" So that's when I realized we really needed to do something to show these kids what's going on. But it all started because of this old standard Victrola and playing a record on the thing. So that's where we got into the museum business all of a sudden. And besides, I was wondering what kind of garage sale is my wife going to have if I kick the bucket and with all this stuff. So we ended up starting the Texas Broadcast Museum. But meanwhile, the radio station is full of artifacts that kids don't not have a clue. Like these are records, LP records. There's even some 78 RPM ones down here, I think, somewhere. Uh, they have no idea. Now we also have a lot of CDs, and Dave was asking about cart machines. Well, we actually still have one, but it's only because I've been too lazy to take it out of the rack. But here's even more CDs. KDOK has a playlist. Most radio stations have a playlist of maybe 300 songs that they play forever. KDOK has about a 12 to 1400 song playlist normally, and it changes, runs stuff in and out. And QXFM has about an 1800 song playlist. So you don't hear the same thing over and over and over again a lot. Well, you will if you stay tuned long enough. But in the interim, it's not like every third song, I know what's coming up next. This is what the control room for QXFM looks like. There are two automation computers here, and this one actually does our streaming that you see over here. There's a dual CD player and a turntable. Yeah, actually works. There's the cart machine down there. We don't usually, it was kind of the maid's day off when I took this picture, but there are two computers running simultaneously. So if one craps out, like Microsoft decides that this would be a good day to update your software for you and restart your computer, we can go to the other one in an instant. Among other things, we have this blue panel up here with the green thing is the emergency alert system receiver decoder magic box. You have to have these. This is what when you hear they call it duck farts on the air, and it says this is a test of the emergency broadcasting system. If this was an actual emergency, you're screwed. And this is the KDOK control area. It once again has two computers, a third one that we use for doing whatever we need to on the internet, and a fourth one that's actually streaming this thing. These do stream online, and you can listen to them if you really like to. But they all use the same software, so that really helps. But they're regular PCs, basically, so that's pretty much it. We can go on the air live if we feel like it. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but generally it's totally automated because, frankly, I can't afford to have disc jockeys. They're expensive, and you know, Dave asked a question earlier that is this a labor of love or a great investment? It's not a great investment anymore. I mean, maybe at one time radio was, but the pie has been sliced so thinly these days. There's so many radio stations out there. There's so many streaming things. We've got a whole bunch of people listening in Europe. I've had some guy in Thailand that was on all the time. We have to pay actually for streaming. We have to pay a quarter of a cent per song per listener and account for that. So the streaming is not really a profit center at all. It's a negative number generator. And, you know, most of our advertisers, in fact, almost all of them, except for McDonald's, I guess, are local businesses. And frankly, if somebody in Frankfurt, Germany is listening, they don't really care because the person from Frankfurt, Germany is probably not going to go eat lunch at McKay's Ranch House restaurant. So this is our production studio. I think we had a picture of it earlier with me in it. It is very simple, very straightforward. Use a program called SoundForge. Had it forever. It's real easy to use. There is a CD player here. This microphone is a copy of a RCA 77DX. I bought this from a music store in Germany, and this is a wonderful microphone. I really like it. And I've got RCA 77s, which are kind of the mic everybody likes to announce in, but I like this one better. It's an actual active microphone. It's got a preamp built in it. The old RCA 77s, which are a ribbon microphone, have a very low output, and mixers like this, which is a cheap mixer made by Behringer, they don't have enough gain before, well, the noise level gets up too high. This is what the transmitter site for the FM station looks like. That's my car. That's a 500-foot tower. Just recently changed the lights on it to LEDs, which is supposed to save me a lot of money, but so far I haven't noticed that, but I did spend a lot of money. It has a generator backup. It's try to keep it neat, tidy, and everything. If you ever wondered what the tower lights look like, this is what they took off of it. Now, the scale is kind of hard to tell, but those things are about 3 feet tall, and they have two 620-watt light bulbs in them. I have no idea who thought 620 watts was what they needed to be, but probably your government thought so. At any rate, I guess these are going to the museum. I'm going to put LEDs in them, though, because I'm not going to. When you got all these running, it's like having your electric dryer turned on continuously. So I'm hoping the LEDs save a little money, but we'll find out. The payback's not real good, but the one good thing about the LEDs that we put in, they're white in the daytime and red at night, and that means I don't have to repaint the tower. And repainting that tower is about $20,000 these days. So I'm hoping that's part of the equation. This is the old transmitter for the FM. This thing's about the size of a refrigerator. It is a watt sucking. It just likes electricity. I turn it on every now and then just to make sure that it's going to work, because we got hit by lightning once and it blew up the normal on-air transmitter, which is solid state. Actually, this is what replaced that. Pretty amazing that we go from that to this, and they do the same thing. Actually, this one does it a lot better, and it's way more efficient. The efficiency rate on the old red one you saw, which is a QEI, is about 55% or so. So you can do the math on that. This thing's about 80% efficient for the electricity used. So, and it has a feature here. There are 4 power supplies for it down here, and you can hot swap those power supplies. You can take them out if one goes bad while the thing's still running. So that's kind of a handy feature. And it's been pretty good. This is what the AM transmitter site looks like. It's out in a field. It's actually in a floodplain. It hasn't ever flooded up here because this is up on top of a hill, but the actual antenna is down in a floodplain. And this is what it looks like inside. The transmitter is actually this part down here. This is an antenna matching device. This is a modulation monitor, an audio processor, and an FM tuner, because this thing actually picks up its signal off of an FM translator on 105.3 and rebroadcasts it on AM. So that is how the thing works. There's a second transmitter that you can see the side of a side here that is once again the size of a really large refrigerator freezer. And in fact, it's on the air right at this particular moment because there's a module missing down here on this solid state they're both solid state, but on this newer transmitter, I loaned that module to another radio station to see if I could help them with a problem. And at the time I took the picture, it was there, and on Monday morning I'm going to put the module back in. It did not solve their problem, but at least we know that wasn't the problem. This is what the tower looks like. It's like I say, it's out in a floodplain. This pylon this thing's on is concrete, and it's about 8 feet tall. And then there's a big base insulator on the thing because this antenna is actually hot. It's got RF on it, so you don't want to touch it while it's on. But that's about 10 feet off. This fence is 10 feet, and I have pulled driftwood out of this tower up 10, 20 feet. So when this place floods, it floods really big time. I know one time I noticed we were off the air, so I went to go find out what was wrong, and there was no way you're getting out here. I mean, it was like, I'm sorry, it's going to be off the air till the water goes down. It does make for good ground conductivity, however. But when you do have a radio station, all of a sudden you got to be part of the community. And here we are with our van. That's an old news van. It actually belonged to NBC in Los Angeles. And I bought it several years ago. And we go out and do events. This is Trunk or Treat in downtown Kilgore. Now you know what downtown Kilgore looks like. And we sit there and give away candy. It's simple. It's fun. It is fun. The kids are a lot of fun. And it makes a lot of friends. And that's what you've got to do if you're a local radio station. You just got to be part of the community. You got to go to the Kiwanis Club and the Lions Club and all that kind of stuff. And that's the networking that it takes to make it work. So we have a building in downtown Kilgore, too. This happens to be next door to the Broadcast Museum. This is where the auxiliary studios are. And actually, it's a sales office. Sales are the big thing. And it's really hard to find people who want to sell radio advertising. And my sales manager died last fall, which was, how dare him do that? And I have not really found a good replacement for him. So I have been the sales guy. I can't say that I'm really thrilled about that, but it's worked out okay. At least I don't have to pay him anymore. When you come in, you get to come and sit next to a Philco Predicta TV. I mean, why not? I mean, we like TVs too. And this is what the sales office looks like, 2 sales desks. And through this window over here is our production studio. So clients can come in here and record their commercials. We find that it seems to work better if they do it in their own voice, because these are all local companies. I mean, they're, the lady with the local health food sandwich store and, the guy with the barbecue place and stuff like that. They're part of the community too. And when people hear them on the radio, they go, "Oh, I heard you on the radio." So that makes them stay tuned in. They also keeps them as clients, which is a really handy thing, because if you're changing your advertisers all the time, it's a lot better to have somebody who wants to pay you every month rather than have to find somebody new who wants to pay you every month. In that same building, same room, is a soundproof booth. It's really not soundproof, but it's a lot better than nothing. And we're right across the street from a church, and they have a carol on that at 8 o'clock, well, actually every hour it chimes loudly, And at 8, noon, and 5, they play a Carillon symphony for about 5 minutes. And if you're trying to record something at that time, that is a real problem. So we have this sound booth here. It actually sounds really good. It's all full of egg crate foam rubber, and has a really good condenser microphone in it, and it actually works real well. And that here's a different view of it. You can see how it lays out in the room. And when the recording light goes on, I like those little details. And this is the actual control room for it. Once again, using the audio program called SoundForge, works fine for us. I mean, there's a ton of audio recording, editing programs, but when you find one that works and it's easy and you use the same thing everywhere, that just really simplifies things. So we have 2 on-air studios. So they're not on the air right now, but they could. This one is the KDOK studio. It's in the same building, next room over, and then the QXFM building room is over here. So both of these could go on the air if they needed to. That because currently where the studios are next door to my house, out on the farm in East Texas here, and I kind of like it out there because I can, if something goes wrong, I can walk down here. It's 350 feet from my back door to the front door of this place, and I can get in. But more and more we're using this building that's downtown just because it's much more convenient for people, and you can see our break room there too, uh, microwave and sink and refrigerator. And then this stuff breaks. So in that same building, we have a little shop. I can get most of the stuff back working, and it's been pretty handy. Now I have a shop back here in Chalk Hill where I am right now too, but this is kind of auxiliary, and actually I use it a lot with the museum because stuff breaks in the museum too, and I can just go take it across the parking lot. We have a pretty big shop in the broadcast museum, but it's full of stuff. I mean, there's like, there's a CT100 strewn out all over the bench or something. And it's a little awkward when you need to go put a new connector on a microphone or something. So that's pretty much what the radio station's like. I can't say that I think it's really a great investment if anybody wants to do that. But it is a community service, and that's really what I'm more interested in, uh, as long as I don't go broke. And so far, it's been okay. During the pandemic, it was not as wonderful as I would like it to be, but it was okay. And didn't fire anybody or anything. Now we run this on a very small, there's me and 2 other people. That's it. Uh, so the budget has to be set that way. If you'd like to listen online, you can go to QX-FM. That dash is really important, or you go to a radio station in Weatherford, Texas. It's really bizarre. Or the KDOKradio.com. Either one, you can listen. There's, if you go to either those sites, they're actually the same site. There's actually a video that one of my friends made of me explaining how we do the music and how that was chosen. So and basically the bottom line is I play what I want. Every radio consultant in the universe will tell you you're not supposed to do that. Why would you? You have to research this and figure out what songs people really want to hear and so on. Well, okay, that's fine, but what we're doing, what I've been doing seems to work. People seem to like it. So, uh, and I just, if I don't like a song, I don't play it. And if I do, I will. So it's been a real interesting experience. And I'm going to do this stop share here because that's pretty much where the end of this is. But if you want to tune in, you can listen online, and just have fun, I guess. If you've got any questions, holler.
What else do you do to keep busy?
Oh, the broadcast museum keeps me really busy. I mean, I just came from there a few minutes ago. I haven't eaten yet, but haven't fallen over. But if I also play with old cars. I mean, that's actually how this kind of started. I was messing with antique autos for a long time. The Classic Car Club of America and the Antique Auto Car Club of America both sucked me dry pretty well. I've still got some cars, but uh, they need to find new homes. So, I do keep busy. And I think I wouldn't have it any other way, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I was bored to death for the couple of years before I started the radio thing back up. Um,
Does the
well,
little redhead kid ever come back?
no, I've never seen him again. We had a volunteer kid that was red haired, and I thought it was the same kid. He's off in college. He's at McPherson College in McPherson, Kansas, learning how to restore antique cars. And the kid's really good. He was a great volunteer, and I thought maybe it was the same one, but he said no, it wasn't me. So I don't know. I don't know who the little red-haired kid is, but he's responsible for a lot. Because I mean, he really did make me think. It's like, God, these kids really don't know, and we do. Well, I had a tour yesterday with about 15 or 20 kids from a local junior college that are in the media department, and a couple or three of them really knew what they were looking at and were very conversant about it. But the rest you could see are going, 16 millimeter film, what are you talking about? On TV? Why would we do that? And videotape? You hand them a 2-inch roll of videotape and they nearly drop it on the floor because the thing weighs about 25 pounds and they don't think it does. They have no idea. I mean, we've got an Ampex VR1000 that's the first videotape machine that was commercially available. And the thing weighs 2,000 pounds and it takes up about 10 feet of floor space for the whole thing. And they can't believe that it was that crude back then. And they see old TVs and, what, no remote? You know, it doesn't have, it doesn't work on Bluetooth. They don't know. They really don't. That's why these museums need to thrive.
Chuck, you mentioned like royalties that you pay for streaming, and it wasn't quick-witted enough to have the amount register. You're also over the air. And what's the comparison for estimating streaming? You presumably know the number of listeners. Over the air, I'm not sure how well you know. And what's the comparison in rates?
Okay, well, for over the air, we pay ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and somebody called GMR, Global Music Rights, and they all base it on a percentage of your gross income, not net, gross income. And you pay. They do an audit every year, and occasionally they'll ask you to audit the songs that you played for 24 hours or something, and submit that to them. Uh, for for streaming, you pay ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, uh, Global Music Rights, and Sound Exchange, which is something our government fixed up. It's actually owned by the record industry, but it's quote nonprofit. And for that, you get to pay an extra 0.25 cents per song per listener, and you have to actually account for that. If you go direct with Sound Exchange, you have to file once a month. This is a busy work project of how many people listen to which song and submit a list of every song that you played for the month with how many people listen to each one. Talk about a giant pain in the rear end to do. So I found a company called Live 365 that accounts for it for me. It costs me money to do that, but it also frees up a couple of days a month on having to fill out the paperwork. If you love paperwork, I recommend highly going direct with Sound Exchange because you'll like it. It makes the government look pretty efficient. So um, they but they have you and there's nothing you can do about it. And they have towers full of lawyers. Now, the funny thing is, one of my neighbors, a friend that lives down the street from me, is a musician. He's pretty good, and he decided he was going to do a gospel album, and I helped him with it. We helped produce the thing, and it's pretty good. And we have on Sunday morning on QXFM we play what we call the gospel brunch, and every Sunday there's 4 hours of pretty much Southern gospel, but not all. It's just you know it's kind of fun religious music rather than serious funeral dirge number 7 or something. And at any rate, my friend Daniel, I play a lot of the songs off of that album because they're actually pretty good. I like them, and everybody else seems to like them, and everybody in the neighborhood kind of knows him too. So at any rate, he called me up one day. He said, "Are you in your office?" I said, "Yeah." He said, I want to come by. I want to show you something." I said, "Okay." So 5 minutes later, he's here. He says, "I got my first check from Sound Exchange." He said, "I don't know what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to cash it or not." I went, "Why?" And he showed it to me. It's for 3 cents. That's how much he was getting. I don't know how much I paid for playing his songs on the radio, but it was a lot more than 3 cents. So somewhere the Department of Efficiency in radio is not working. And they keep raising the price on the streaming thing. It's kind of a bad business model because the more people who listen, the more you get to pay, and it's kind of hard to sell that. So I don't have a good answer on it, but you kind of have to do it these days because, I mean, we get a lot of people who are sitting there listening on their iPhone or whatever. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not nearby. Seem to have a lot of them in Dallas. I guess radio in Dallas is that bad these days, even though they've got 70 radio stations or something. I don't go there very often anymore, but I usually have trouble finding something to listen to. Anyway, it's the streaming is expensive, but it's just part of doing business.
Interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for a look back at how I started.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us probably had some kind of phono oscillator pirate radio station with a long wire hanging out the window. I wouldn't be surprised if just about everybody on this Zoom conference has done that. I mean, it's a disease, I think. I mean, let's face it.
Yep. I started when I was 8 years old. My home built rig had two 6L6s and two 6LQ6s in it. Not exactly Part 15 compliant.
No, I wouldn't think that would be. No, that probably was not. I know I got started. My grandfather gave me a 1-tube radio kit when I was 6 or something, or 7, helped me put it together, and I think I was hooked after that. It was, and then my mother was. I grew up in New England, but my mother was from Henderson, Texas, which is the next town south of me. I actually have a Henderson street address where I'm sitting right now, even though it's 18 miles away. And I'd come down here every summer in our unair-conditioned car to visit all the family in Texas. It's only 117 degrees outside or something, and I'm sweating like a lizard on a hot rock or something. And my aunt had a radio program on the local Henderson radio station called KGRI, and I would go with she had this radio program on Saturday mornings about Rusk County history, which I thought was about as interesting as a bowl of cold oatmeal or something. But I'd go with her and go to the radio station and met this guy named Tom Perryman, who I kept up with for years, who was the disc jockey and general manager and everything. It's kind of a one-man band radio station, and I just thought it was great. I mean, it got to a point when I'd go down and visit, she'd take me there on her way to work and pick me up at lunchtime, and I'd sit and watch this guy play hillbilly records all day because I'd never heard any of that stuff. So it was I think that cemented the whole thing. And as you notice, I like to talk. So
when I grew up in outside of Cleveland in the 70s, there was a station WDOK. It was kind of like one of those easy listening places.
Oh.
And oh, by the way, you talked about 2-inch quad videotape.
Yeah.
You know, my wife gets these. These are not videotape reels. They are for 3D printer filament.
Oh, okay.
They sure look a lot like the old days.
Well, they do. Yeah, that looks a little lighter, I would guess, though.
Yeah. It's like 2.5 or 3, almost 3 inches. But yeah, when I was in high school, my brother and I put together a bootleg radio station. In fact, I found a classmate who was running their own station, and I, with a compatriot, we went around and found it. And when we knocked on the door, he came to the door kind of sheepishly, going, "Who is this?" Yeah. And I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, we recognized each other. So you're the one running the bootleg station, right?" So what we did later was I got a couple of transformers, and my brother and I put a studio together at our house. And when our parents weren't home, we'd plug in the phone lines. So it was a phone studio transmitter link. So he'd fire up his transmitter, and then he could listen to us on the radio.
Well, we did something similar. I mean, my pirate radio days got a little carried away. I was working at a TV shop in the downtown Walpole, Massachusetts area, and we had a transmitter there, and we had another one at my house. And one summer we rented a phone line, a dry pair phone line between the two from it was like $8 a month or something. I don't know. It wasn't a lot, and ran audio down it, but I also ran RF into it to make it a carrier current station.
Wow.
And I didn't know if this would work or not, but it did. And if you put a phone near an AM radio anywhere in town, it came in great. And the FCC actually came out and to see the station because somebody had claimed that that was trying to get a job at another radio station and claimed that their third class license that the guy didn't have was hanging at the station in my parents' basement. And at any rate, they came out to investigate that and found that we were broadcasting all over the place. And the guy that came out, he was really very nice. He couldn't have been much out of college or something. And he had the truck with all the antennas and stuff, and it was gray and had government plates and stuff. And I'm kind of a little on the nervous side, to say the least. And he comes in and sees this, and I explain how it worked. And he was really looking for the third class license for this guy. And he said, "This is the most elaborate pirate radio station I've ever seen." I went, "Well, okay, why?" So, I mean, it had 2 turntables and a tape recorder, and we had a news desk and everything. You know, it was a couple of microphones. It was pretty good. And so he said he'd never thought about using the phone line as a common carrier line, which actually was legal. It was a loophole in their rules because they considered a common carrier line to be a power line, and when it gets to a transformer, RF's not going to go through that, so that keeps it contained. And I'd worked in college radio, and that's how it ran all around our campus. And I had got the idea of using the phone line instead, and it worked. And he never found a second studio in downtown, but he sat out there in the driveway with his truck with all his instruments and stuff, and and set the power level just right there. He said, "Well, if you're good with it, I am," and went away.
That's funny. So the phone line would radiate as an antenna up to the first transformer.
Yeah, well, there weren't any transformers. This was a dry pair.
Oh,
Intended for alarm use or something like that to put DC down.
wow. So how did he localize it if you had such a long run?
Well, he didn't. He just sat in our driveway and with a truck and did his job and made his little chart, and it was radiating how far from the house, I don't know. And he said, "Well, that's okay." He had me adjust the transmitter power. It really didn't matter what power the transmitter was, and it had a couple of 6L6s incidentally for an output. So but he said, "Okay, what can I say?"
That's a great story.
But that station didn't last very long, but we actually sold some commercials on it, and people did listen. So it was kind of fun. But I figure it's got to be fun or it's not worth doing. So
absolutely. Yeah, back in the day, you could announce the phone number of a payphone, and if people called it, it would ring.
Yeah,
you know. Mm-hmm. So that was our caller line.
Okay, well, that works. Yeah, well, kids don't know about payphones either. Yeah, we have a phone booth at the museum, and they look at you with great puzzlement that you didn't just pick your phone up and you call home, and you used to have collect call from mom, pick me up, moves over.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video of they put a desk dial phone on the table, and they had these kids come in and say, "Okay, how would you make a call on this thing?"
They don't know.
They were completely clueless.
They do not know.
They put their fingers in the holes.
That's right. Like, well... they sit there doing this on the thing, and you go, "No, that's not going to work." And then you explain to them that when you were dialing this thing, after you got to the last digit, your finger would fall out of it, and you talk to somebody new. You never even thought about talking to new friends. It was good days back then.
Well, thanks for telling your story. I really enjoyed it.
Well, good. Okay. Hope I didn't bore everybody to death. Is Max Headroom here?
Yeah.
Chuck, that was fascinating.
Okay, well, now you know a little more about me anyway. So, and if you got any questions, Dave gave me a whole bunch of questions. Send them to me. I got them. I just had been in the museum all day, and I got them about 15 minutes before we logged on here. So I really haven't looked at it, but there's if you can remember any of them, Dave, feel free to fire them away.
Yeah, I think you hit most of them pretty well. I have to say, I mean, the instigation for this whole evening was, I mean, I've known you for at least 10 years now, and you know, I've heard you mention the radio stations, but I just started listening just a few weeks ago, and damn, I mean, you know, whatever your playlists, it's interesting to hear how you choose those, because for me at least, you're batting 1,000 every single song that comes up. I'm going like, okay, that's good.
Well, that's
And I
good.
don't
Well,
think any other station has ever done that. So so I'm one of the people who's costing you money now, I guess.
well, that's okay. Well, it's fine. Actually, with our Live 365 plan, they have tiers of, so it doesn't really matter, you know, until you get to the next tier, and all of a sudden your price doubles or
Mm.
something.
And then, you know, again, I started thinking about, you know, well, gee, my idea of a radio station would be like a radio station that I would remember from decades ago, or the college radio station that I worked in more decades ago. And I'm thinking like, well, gee, it's probably just a laptop and a transmitter the size of a toaster oven. So thank you for showing us that it actually is a little bit more than that, and
There's
it actually almost looks like a radio station.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of radio stations, well, almost everyone is automated these days. I mean, even if you think there's a DJ there, he's not. They do what's called voice tracking, and we could do that if we felt like it, but I I don't see much point in it, because they'll have, you know, and that was another great song on the Big 64 or whatever, you know, and they just dump that in, and it's almost pointless. But that's how they do it these days, and everybody's computer operated. And with all the consolidation in radio, back in what, 1996, they changed the rules. It used to be you could only own one AM, one FM, and one TV station, period. That's it. RCA, Westinghouse, GE, all these companies, like that. It was 7, 7, and 7. And they changed the rules back in 96 to where you can own whatever you want. And you know, the first big offender was Clear Channel. It's out of San Antonio, Texas, now called iHeart. It's I Have No Heart radio. They have really screwed up radio, really big time. And there's other big companies, Cumulus and Alpha Media and Town Square and others, that they just have giant clusters of radio stations. Actually, the biggest one now is EMF, which is Educational Media Foundation. It's a religious station. These guys are nonprofit, and they've got like 1,800 stations and translators. And it's all financed by little old ladies' pocketbooks, I guess. I don't know. They have one. The local college in Kilgore College, had a 60,000 watt classical music station, and they sold it to EMF, and now it's something called K-Love, which is supposed to be uplifting. And maybe it's just me. I don't mean to offend anybody, but to me, Homer Simpson summed it up pretty good. He said, it's not good rock and roll, and it's not good religious music. And that's kind of my thought on it, but you know, to each their own, because it's pretty popular. But they own just a gazillion stations, and it's all run by lawyers and accountants. And I guess they're sincere, but I don't know. But anyway, it turns out that companies like Clear Channel or iHeart or whatever will have 5 or 6 basic formats, and they're all satellite delivered or internet delivered to the stations. And there's nobody there anymore. There's no localism. And you got to be local as far as I'm concerned. And even though we're automated, we're local. We're, you know, I just before we signed on, just took a spot off for a car show that's in downtown Kilgore this evening, because it's over now, but it was there. So we promote stuff that's local all the time, and that seems to win us friends and listeners. and that gets you sponsors, and the sponsors make it work. Because if without them, I don't mind dying poor, broke, but I don't want to live that way. So getting too carried away on this, it's got to support itself. So, and so far it has. So it's been good. Been a good run.
Well, thanks again. Chuck.
That's pretty cool. You could probably sell that to a guitar player.
I wish I knew what it was.
Good effect.
I guess if they're no more. Let me,
Gotta love Zoom.
yeah.
Yeah, that usually happens. That
I
usually
just-
happens if there's you're talking on Zoom and then there's another Zoom connection in the room.
Yeah, that's one you don't really want to have two instances of Zoom open it up on two different devices in the same room, unless you're wearing headphones. Maybe that works okay.
Steve, you're on the participant screen in two places.
Is this any better?
Yes, it
That's
is.
I don't know what was going on. Well, thank you, Chuck, again. Guess it's time for general discussion, but you can keep talking about radio all you want. I'm gonna get something to eat and then go to bed. I'm a little tired. So we'll see some of you at the convention and many of you next month.
Well, I'll hang in here for a while. I haven't eaten either, and it's 8:13 my time, so I'm sure I have a couple of dogs that are going, you haven't fed us yet.
Well, it's only 6 o'clock out here in Phoenix, but it's pretty much our dinner time too. But want to thank you all and thanks Steve for keeping the museum going.
I do have one thing that I'd like to share with the group, and that is something that I noticed after moving out here to wild and wonderful West Virginia. Let me share if I can get it on here. Here we go. This is what greeted me the first time I went to the recycle place. Now, if you take a look carefully here, you'll see at least 1, 2, 3 rather elderly television sets here. Problem is, once a TV goes from your car to the recycle, it becomes the property of the Berkeley County solid waste people. Now, I was wondering if anybody in the group has ever tried making contact with their solid waste, sanitary department, etc., to prevent these antique televisions from ending up like, let me see if I can bring back the, there we go. Keep these antique sets from ending up like this. In fact, the people at Berkeley County Solid Waste didn't even like me taking pictures of the sets that were awaiting pickup. And to me, it's a waste. Maybe they're not super antiques. They may not be super rare. Yes, they've been sitting out in the elements for who knows how long. But obviously, they're going to become landfill fodder. So has anybody tried contacting the local government? I don't have a car big enough to haul any of this stuff home with me. So I haven't bothered to contact the solid waste board here in Berkeley County. I'm in Inwood, West Virginia, which is about 8 miles south of Martinsburg, or about 70 miles west of Washington, D.C., if anybody's interested in trying to retrieve whatever might be dropped off. But that's my 47.5 cents worth inflation.
Well, you know, I think if you tried to talk to them, that would be kind of a fool's errand because I don't think they want to talk about it. And then they got lawyers telling them that they don't want to talk about it. But I will tell you that I mean, where I used to go, they had a shipping container, and they would put the stuff in the shipping container. So I did find that if I parked my van really close and right in front to block the view of the front of the opening of the shipping container, I could go and drop off whatever I was going to drop off in there. And if I did see anything that I liked, that didn't necessarily you know, it's easier to apologize than to ask permission. And you don't even have to apologize if you park your car correctly.
See, my way of thinking is if it's from even the 60s or the 70s, it's old, particularly to some of the newer collectors or younger collectors.
They also don't put it in the landfill, at least not around here. There's a big outfit, it's a nonprofit in New Jersey that they employ convicts actually to try to learn employable skills. I don't know how employable skills, you know, how employable the skills are, but they actually deconstruct all the computers and whatnot that they get in, and they sort it out into the different types of you know, saleable or recyclable material. So there, you know, that's I guess arguably a good thing.
You know, we have one in our area called STS Recycling, and they just do electronic stuff. But once it's there, it's theirs. But they do sell computers. Mostly they're into computers, but they get all kinds of electronics. But they don't want to know about if you know, if somebody put a RCA 630 in the thing, it's theirs at that point. Uh, but they actually sell refurbished computers under the name of Computer Discount Depot or something like that. And it's actually not a bad place to buy a used computer or laptop or something. You can get one for $150 or something that cost somebody $1,500 not long ago, and they put a new hard drive in them usually and stuff. So I think that's good actually, because I mean, let's save the stuff. But things like those TVs that that John was showing, I mean, there's some there that I would guess that, you know, a 30-something-year-old guy that's trying to get into this hobby would actually kind of like to have, because they're maybe the TVs they grew up with. Uh, you know, I mean, we're finding that more and more in the museum that you show somebody something really old and they don't relate because they never saw it, but you show them a 1985 Zenith TV that's looks kind of like it belongs in a disco or something, and they go, "Oh yeah, I remember my friend had one of them just like that." So, it would be nice to figure out some way to save some of these things.
Yeah. Anything that has a CRT in it, they're starting to call them bulb type TVs. But you can see that even to my eye, they're starting to look pretty retro and old at this point.
Well, they are, and you may have had one just like it too. Uh, I actually, we there was a TV station down in Houston that was they were moving, and they had a whole bunch of monitors, and we don't want monitors anymore. We got tons of them, but at any rate, one of the people that has supported the museum started asking them if they could donate all those monitors to the museum, and they said no, they have to be recycled. It's corporate policy,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want the liability of the whatever kind of, you know, carcinogenic materials or whatever that are in the thing being given to somebody. So we have to destroy them, which I thought was kind
But
of an odd corporate thing. But
the young
Yeah, I mean,
collectors,
couldn't you
um,
just sign a release or something like that's ridiculous?
well, they weren't interested in
No.
signing a release. Yeah, we would have done that for sure. And now we don't want. I've got a wall of monitors that people have given us so many of them that I really don't. Not looking for more. I mean, if somebody brings some in, we'll take them. We got a whole bunch of them not too long ago that came from ABC in New York. They were brand new in the box, never been opened. We got like 15 of them or something, and these are Ikegami monitors that are really expensive. And a couple of Ikegami uh, uh, engineering grade monitors, brand new in the box, never been opened, had 1980s date on them.
Oh boy.
You know, work fine, look good. Um, you know, but I felt bad about opening the box, you know, except we made a studio out of them. But uh, you know, it's kind of like opening the Barbie doll box or something. You know, all of a sudden your Barbie doll goes from being worth $100 to nothing. But
You can do a video wall. Remember those?
oh yeah, I think we've got a controller for one. Somebody gave us this rack that's got something in it. Best I can figure, that must be a controller for a video wall. That would be kind of fun to do. Probably make the electric bill go up higher even.
We were in Houston a couple of months ago and we toured the NASA facility where they preserved that control room that they
Oh,
used for the Apollo missions. And the first time I saw that a number of years ago, it was they had kind of cleaned it up and you could just see everything. And then somebody got the idea that, well, why don't we, really make it look just like it did, right?
mhm.
So recently, what they've done is done what they call like a recreation or something, and it's like all the ashtrays are back and notebooks and stuff and the phones. Looks like the guys just walked off for a second. They'll be right back, But I noticed that all of the monitors were running, and I figured, wait a minute, I can't imagine they got all those CRTs going. I suspect I don't have this information, but I suspect what they've done is they've snuck LED, monitors behind the screens.
Yeah,
Quite
they faked it.
Yeah,
They had to for reliability.
yeah. No, I can't imagine why they would have used the CRTs, but it looked great, and it was a nice show. So
well, you know, it inspires people to be interested in the stuff. So I'm okay with it. Actually, I've seen a lot. Some of the stuff we've cheated on, and there's a LCD in the thing, LED TV. Most of it though actually works with the original CRTs. But I don't know what we're going to do when we run out of CRTs that work. This is going to be a problem sometime. Our friends up in New England at Woonsocket, Rhode Island, that run the Museum of Broadcast Technology have been doing modifications with another company that's in New Jersey, I think, that has been making TV props for movies and things. And they have some RCA TK11 cameras, which is the early black and white camera that everybody used back in the 50s, that look like they're working. I mean, they actually used the original camera cable to get signals back and forth. There's an HD camera inside the thing, and an LCD screen, and they're running them at 24 frames a second so the film people can use these. And the control room monitors have iPads in them and stuff, but they look right. And if you see the movie, there was a whole series of TV called Julia that was about Julia Child. It's on HBO Max, I think. It's wonderful, the amount of detail and how authentic it looks, right down to her 1962 Volvo that she drove around. And the lady that played Julia Child is a dead ringer for her on top of it. But and then there's a Bob Dylan movie that came out recently, and it's got some of these cameras in it too, and it looks really real. So, you kind of hate to destroy something, but on the other hand, it's not completely rare, and all of a sudden they're getting exposed again and being used. So it's a
Yeah,
fine line. You got to figure it out.
that's Video Alchemy.
That's it. Yeah.
They did Severance, and I think they did Mrs. Maisel too.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I mean, in the TV collecting, especially in the Facebook groups, people get all kinds of bent out of shape.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they're certainly, catering to a different market, and you hate to see them take apart a set. But
Well, when they turn it into a cat bed or something, I get that doesn't enthuse me a lot. I think it deserves better than that, but that's just me. But on the other hand, I mean, we've got one TV that we run I Love Lucy clips on, and we have a mannequin that looks like Lucy sitting next to it. And Actually, she's vacuuming, but she's not sitting there. But it was an old Capehart TV, but when we got it, it had a infestation of rat's nest inside the thing, and there was no way this thing was ever going to work. The CRT was bad. The neck had been broken on it.
Oh.
So we actually restored the cabinet to make it look nice, redid the bezel around the CRT, took out about 3 inches of it just so that it would fit on a 32-inch LCD screen from Walmart for $88 and run a Lucy stuff on it. And it looks the part, and the speaker works and stuff like that. And people go, wow, I didn't know Lucy looked that good.
Well, actually,
We
Lucy,
fool them, so they think it's right. So.
well, Lucy was shot in 35 millimeter negative. I mean, you could take the original negative and scan it at 4K, look insanely good.
It would, yeah. I mean, she was really advanced. I mean,
Yeah.
the 3 cameras and 35 millimeter. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Some of the old Jackie Gleason Honeymooner stuff was shot on a Dumont Electronicam that was 35 millimeter. There were 3 of them. We have one, and I mean, those look really good when you look on them on YouTube or something. I mean, they really do. So you could. That was some very forward thinking of people. And of course, part of it was because videotape machines didn't exist. That probably was the main reason, but still, it worked. And the good news with the film stuff is that they didn't throw it away.
Yes.
Videotape, you usually erase the tape after you played it and put something else on it.
Yeah, the BBC erased over a bunch of stuff that the fans would be killed to get now.
I'm sure they would. Everybody did. The TV stations I worked at, if we had a daily show of some kind, we'd usually shoot 5 days worth all at once, and had one tape for Monday, one for Tuesday, one for Wednesday, one for Thursday, one for Friday. And as soon as you played Tuesdays, we erased it and put something else on it. That tape was expensive, damn it.
Yeah, yeah. That MBT in Rhode Island, though, that's an awesome place. I've been there a couple of times.
It is. They're
Oh my
great
God.
friends. They have helped us so much. They've come down and they brought us equipment. They've given us equipment. They've given us money. They've come down and helped set stuff up. I've been sharing a booth with them at NAB for several years as their guests, and it's really they're terrific people. I mean, they really are. Paul and Tom are great. And if you want a videotape machine, that's where you want to go, because I mean, they got videotape machines. And I got to be friends with them because I rescued, I don't know if you know what this is, but it's a RCA TCR 100, which is a tape cartridge machine.
Yes.
That will take your hand off if you get it stuck in the wrong place. I mean, this thing is a monster, and I rescued it out of a TV station that was dark. Well, they'd moved, and they were going to bulldoze the building down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And I hauled this thing back in my car hauling trailer along with an Ampex 2-inch machine and a whole ton of these cartridges and parts and stuff like that. And I got the thing unloaded here, and I started looking at it. I go, this is way past my pay grade. I mean, this is sorry. This is not something I'm going to be able to deal with. And I somehow came across Tom Sprague and Paul Beck from the Woonsocket Museum. And it turns out that Tom was the guy that worked for RCA Service Company that not only wrote the manual, the service manual on it, but he did the seminars on how to fix the things.
Well, there's the right guy.
So I said, you need to come down and get this thing. So they did. And I was up there last summer. I was up for a wedding. One of my cousins got married and went there, and he's got it working.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
that made me feel really, really good. So it's in a great place. And they have an incredible collection, especially of videotape machines.
Yeah, when I was there, they had a original Ampex 1000 working with the rack of tubes and the whole thing. Somebody had converted it to color, but it was still the original machine.
Well, you can get them color or black and white. We have one too, but ours doesn't work. Well, we don't know if it works or not. We don't have compressed air and enough power to run the thing, but ours looks pretty anyway. But actually, they're the people who somebody wanted to donate this to them, and And they said, well, we've got one, so we don't need it, but why don't you call Chuck up? So they did, and we ended up getting this really nice Ampex VR1000.
Yeah, they had an AVR1. Well, they probably got more than one, but this one that they had when I was there, they said, yeah, they got it from some guy who was a pilot, and he had it in his. He has a hangar for his plane, and he put it in there because he didn't have any place else big enough to store it, right? And some guy from the FAA came through and inspected his hangar. Said, "What's that? Oh, that's my AVR1. Does it have anything to do with flying?" Well, only if I play a tape of Top Gun. Not good enough. You got to get out of here. So he donated it to MBT.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad it went to a good place, and they are really good people. And like I say, they've helped us immeasurably. Good folks.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing well. Whoa.
Well, they found a niche in the supplying props for movies and things. We haven't ever got into that. Well, we did once. That didn't work out quite as wonderfully as we would have liked it because they wanted. They came in. There's some movie that HBO did called somebody in the. It was loosely based on Fleetwood Mac and their rise to fame. Can't remember the full title, but at any rate, everything was fine until we got to their corporate lawyers and stuff. And with the contract, we sent them a really simple contract that, you just got to bring the stuff back and you're going to pay so much money. So they started changing the contract to where it got to be about 25 pages. And it said that if this stuff didn't work when it got to New Orleans for their shooting, we had to come down and fix it. I'm going, it doesn't work now.
You don't understand. It's a prop, okay?
It's a prop, I mean, it doesn't even light up. If you plug it in, smoke's going to come out for sure.
There's an outfit in California called Apex Electronics. They're in North San Fernando Valley. They make a lot of money selling, renting stuff out to props.
Yep. There's History for Hire is out there in Burbank too, and there's one in Atlanta, RJ Props. But he says the business isn't as good as it used to be. But then he also told me that he's downsizing. So maybe somebody from ETF needs to talk to him. But he said that he's got 2 buildings and one of them is going up to $13,000 a month rent.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. How do you support that? So
and part of the problem now is that CGI is getting, renting this real stuff and shipping it and setting it up on the set as a practical prop. Okay, it starts to become more expensive than, well, we'll just hire this guy and they'll, gen it up on the computer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got so good that so that's kind of a problem. But I must admit, I like seeing movies that have the original looking stuff, even if I know it's been rigged up. But I have to admire the ingenuity of the people who do that.
Yeah, attention. I like when the set decorators and the production people have an idea of what it's supposed to look like, and they really take the trouble to do it right.
Yeah, well, when I was in the sound business, we had people kept trading in microphones. I mean, they'd come in and want to buy a microphone. We sold Shure and Electro Voice and AKG and stuff, Sennheiser, and at any rate, they'd bludgeon you for the cheapest price they could possibly get, and then drag out this really cruddy looking microphone and say, "What are you going to give me a trade for this thing?" And so I'd give them $5 or something. And when we moved into the building I showed you there, I found all these things in a box, and I went, "Gee, some of these look pretty cool if we cleaned them up." So I made a display behind our sales counter in the place, and all these old microphones. And one day we started renting them out for movie shoots and movie videos and things. We weren't far from some studios. And one day some guys came in there that were doing the JFK movie, the Oliver Stone version. They came in to buy some gaffer tape, duct tape, expensive duct tape, and saw the microphones. And this guy says, "I've got to have that microphone." Well, and he pointed at one, and I said, "Okay, why?" He said, "Well, there's a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald with one in that's a famous picture." And I went, "Okay, maybe. I don't think so, but whatever." And they ended up renting about 20 microphones for a month and a half or so. Uh, that was pretty good, and they're in the movie. So, and now they're in the museum. So if you see the JFK movie and look at the microphones, now you know where they came from. But
All right, that's great.
that was our big claim to fame in prop rentals. So mostly it was a disaster area when we were doing it, because people would bring stuff back damaged or lose it or something, and that wasn't much fun. It's a whole weird business all to itself.
You mentioned that some programs being preserved because they were on film, and there was no point in trying to reuse the film. But you know, the BBC has actually restored some color programs from the black and white kinescope because they didn't have a chroma filter in the kinescope recording, and the color dots got recorded on the kinescope film.
Yeah, I read about that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That is. I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense. You know, and of course, colorizing stuff has become pretty common now. So they might come up with some really cool stuff.
Yeah, well, in their case, it was PAL, so it simplified the recovery because of the phase error canceling characteristics of PAL. And they said that they didn't think it would be possible for NTSC. Well, at one point, Ed Wright-Tan contacted me and said, have you looked at the CD or the DVD of the kinescope of the original Cinderella with Julie Andrews? And I looked at it, and sure enough, there were chroma dots in that video. Of course, once they had been through the MPEG encoding, the dots were messed up and blocky. There would be blocks where they were clear and blocks where the phase changed and so forth. But he egged me on to see if there was any possibility of recovering the color. And I went through like 9 months of working on it, and I found that you could recover some really unsynchronized color of sorts. And when I reported that back to Ed, he managed to get us in contact with the whichever studio it was that had the rights, and the estate of Rogers, you know, the composer for the music for that show. And they it turned out they had some 16mm kinescope prints. So we got those over to Sony, who scanned them at like 8K or something tremendous, and sent me some files to work on. And it looked like it was going to be possible to recover the color, even though NTSC was going to be a real problem because of the phase sensitivity. But it turned out that in making the kinescope, the dots were missing from the highlights. and it's like the spot size of the kinescope recorder went to hell in the highlights, and the detail was just gone. And of course, the places where it was worst were the places with the best lighting, like Julie Andrews' face.
Of course.
Yeah. So everybody had high hopes of restoring the thing for the 65th anniversary of the show, but it just couldn't be done. We had to give up.
Analyzing, but frustrating, huh?
Yeah.
I bet someday somebody figures out how to do it. with enough
Well,
processing power.
where there's no data there, they'd have to use artificial intelligence to
Right.
recover it. But things that were darker colors, like the costumes and so forth, the chroma definitely was there. But at that point, we had no idea if the color would track from frame to frame. And the scan nonlinearities and the barrel or Pinkerton distortion in the lenses and so forth would all have to be taken out with extreme precision, because there was none of the advantage that PAL would have. Essentially, the guys at BBC could recover one of the chroma axes with no problem, and because that was the one that flipped phase and canceled out phase errors, and then they'd have to make a 50-50 guess of which phase the other chroma channel was, but that could be done because it'd be obvious if the faces turned green or purple. So
as computer manipulation of images and gets more and more sophisticated, eventually it's possible that they could develop more tools to work on this problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course we had a few still shots from the production, so we could get some idea of what the set colors and costume colors were.
Yeah, a reference.
Yeah.
I'll bet you get back an intelligent guess on a lot of it, and it would still look okay. It might not be quite authentic, but
oh, sure, yeah. And of course, there's the old NTSC dictum that if you turn down the Q channel or even set the Q component to 0, you can still get an acceptable picture with orange and cyan,
Yeah, two-strip Technicolor was a thing for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to have to sign off here, but really appreciate the all the trips down memory lane here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I need to too. It's good to visit with everyone. Hope everyone had fun. I think I'm going to go eat dinner now. See what's for dinner.
So long.
I found your station on TuneIn, so you'll have to pay a few more cents now.
Yeah, that's okay. You're welcome. If you just go to our website, there's players on the website. It's qx-fm.com or kdokradio.com, and there's players right there, so you don't have to listen to TuneIn Radio's pre-roll commercials. And they sometimes interrupt the stream and have a commercial for no apparent reason at some inopportune moment, and we're not doing that. But now that's what I need in my backyard. Everybody needs a dish like that one.
Well, a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you later. And I wish I was going to Hilliard, but unfortunately,
Well,
life get in the way. So,
that makes two of us.
yep. All right. Well, I'll see if I can tune in online. Depends how busy we are at the museum on Saturday, because that's usually a busy day. But we'll find out. Anyway, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks. You too.
Everybody talked out. I can shut us down for the day, and we'll see you next month.